Hi. Sorry, trying to find my notes for what housekeeping I do have for you. Thank you all so much for joining us. Welcome to the Beginner Farmer Training Program. If you are new, if you are not, welcome back. Welcome back, alumni. We are so happy to have you. Sorry, I'm still looking for my housekeeping, but if you all have a chance, I encourage you to check out some of our sponsor video rooms. There'll be a presentation from Culinary at 5:30. Coming up next, we have our Farmer to Farmer and Caucus chats, and that is from 4 to 5. We have a BIPOC, veteran, LGBTQ to Spirit Plus, White Ally to Accomplice, Women in Agriculture and Care Farming caucus chats before dinner and awards. So I'll turn it over to Amy Rose because I think that's all of the housekeeping I have. Oh, you're muted, Amy Rose.
Thank you. All right, great. If we can get everyone to mute themselves for now. And if you have any other questions, just throw them in the chat. And Amy, if you could wrangle those at the end for me, that would be fantastic. So I received some emails today and late last night that some of y'all weren't able to attend the orientation yesterday, which is absolutely fine. So some of the slides are going to be the same as yesterday. And then we're going to talk a little bit about introducing yourselves to get to know, so you can all get to know one another. With us today, we have Ebony Jones, who is the president of our board and runs a tight ship here. He's been stewarding the organization. Our organization has been running for 23 years now, and we've graduated over 450 beginning farmer training students in our history. And y'all are going to be part of the next class. I'm so proud to be here with you because our mission is really centered around earth care and people care and making sure that our farmers are equipped and educated to keep our community fed, healthy, and happy, and our land protected. So there's many reasons to learn how to grow in a positive way. Our economy depends on the 82,000, give or take, farms in the lower mid-Atlantic. In Maryland alone, agriculture creates about 300,000 jobs, and that's making the state one of its largest commercial sectors. So our farmer workforce is facing a mass exodus. About 20% of the region's farmers are approaching retirement age, which is a huge problem, as you can imagine. So lack of support for small-scale agriculture equals lack of replacement farmers and farm sell-offs, mainly to commercial development. So we don't want that land to be developed. We want it to stay farmland. Our land and soil are being destroyed. 1 teaspoon of healthy soil holds more nutrient building and water holding microbes than there are people on the earth. But excessive use of tillage and fertilizer and herbicides are harming the soil and harming its capacity to protect us. So the Bay is what our organization is organized around, protecting the Bay. Our Bay has miles-long dead zones due to nutrient pollution from unsustainable agricultural practices. So covering with cover crops, buffer strips, and reduced fertilizer prevent runoffs. And that's what we're going to make sure that you're equipped to do in our beginning farmer training program. Our security is important. Food security is at great risk. The region could largely feed itself, but 95% of what we grow is livestock feed, soy, and other crops, mostly for export. We import much of what we eat. That's a problem, of course, because as we all know, California is pretty much the breadbasket, vegetable basket of the US. So if we are able to feed ourselves, we're able to keep our food miles tight, and that's more efficient and it's healthier for us and the land and water. Our health is suffering across the country. 23% of DC residents and 34% of Baltimore residents are obese. So to ensure that all have access to the freshest food is important. And our farmers are learning to use SNAP, WIC, and other food access tools as well. And we'll get you supported on that. Our water can be in short supply at some times because of drought. Healthy farms use water saving techniques and trickle irrigation, cover crops, storage, and catchment, and other techniques. That's important. Our climate, of course, is the centerpiece of what we do. Our climate is changing, but smart soil management and can boost organic matter in our soils, which can hold large amounts of carbon. Farmers need more training on carbon smart practices. And our communities are stronger when they are surrounded by healthy, prosperous farms, selling to residents and keeping dollars close to home. So that's what we are all about here. Our BFTP, as you know, I know some of you are new here, but it's a 3-level free year-long training program that combines comprehensive classroom curriculum with on-farm learning and connects you to a supportive network of farmers in the area and ag experts. We offer 3 different levels, of course, and they're designed to meet your needs and the needs of beginning farmers at various stages of your lives and in your careers. We understand that you're working people, working parents, and so much of our curriculum is self-paced multimodal, and we offer several field school events every month, along with the MAC and organic transitions that you can attend anytime throughout the year to meet your requirements of the program. We have some people in the waiting room. Let's see. All right, I think we're good to go. And let's see. So from yesterday, we do have our welcome slides. I believe that Joanna is joining us. Joanna, are you in? She might not be in, sorry. Okay, so welcome to the Beginning Farmer Training Program. Let me get this into present mode. All right, we're really happy you're here. I know a lot of you were able to meet Joanna during the application process, and congratulations, because you beat out hundreds of other applicants in this year's pool for the cohort. So, let's see, we have more people in our waiting room. Sorry about this. All right, so Joanna Winkler is your support staff. She is a contractor here with Future Harvest. She worked with Future Harvest for several years in the past, and she began farming in 2004. She runs Good Dog Farm, and it's a vegetable farm in Baltimore County, Maryland. And this is me, of course. Many of you got to meet me yesterday. So I run a nonprofit small farm here in Central Virginia. We are a multi-site farm. We have 6 satellite farms and 12 community gardens, as well as 3 tribal gardens, and we'll be adding possibly 2 more tribal gardens, at least 1 this coming year. I work with the federally recognized tribes in Virginia on their food sovereignty projects. And this is Kathy Tipper. Kathy is the founder of the BFTP. To date, we have, I believe, more than 450 graduates. So you all will add another 87, 88 this year. So we're going to surpass the 500 mark this year when you all complete the program. It's going to be great. And she's been working for Future Harvest for fundraising and support of the BFTP since 2014. So this year is different. We have 3 levels of curriculum. Previous years had a one-size-fits-all curriculum and one-size-fits-all study circles. So make sure at the end of the program that you apply for the next subsequent level. We really want you to come back, and we want you to continue your journey with us and complete all 3 years. The Google Classroom component of the curriculum now builds from year to year upon the previous year's theory. So we want to make sure that when you are going out to your training farms or talking to your training farm mentors from year to year, that you really have a great grasp of the theory behind the practice that you're going to be implementing in your hands-on days and at field days. And so we also have 32 afternoon, hold on, I'm going to admit someone else to the, okay. So we also have 32 subject matter experts slated to come in on Tuesday evenings. You will have access to those experts in our Google Calendar that I set up for you. You should have the links to that. Again, if anyone is missing any of those links, as I said yesterday, please don't hesitate to make sure that you reach out to me, and I will make sure that you get all of those again. I also did set us up a folder to communicate as a class in Google Drive. So you'll have access to resources for grants, educational materials, a reading list, pertinent links for your journey in your farming career. And you should all be able to comment and add to those as well. So if you have anything great that you found, please feel free to share them with your classmates. Collaboration is much better than competition. We are stronger together. And I want you all to really get to know each other and be able to benefit from being in this cohort together. Let's see. And so our partners for 2022. Many of you met our partners yesterday. They're amazing people. Foodshed Capital, Agriculture, Agrarian Trust, Farm Alliance Baltimore, Our Space World, and Julia Shanks. And they're going to be your go-to people for this year in supplementing your education as well. Please make sure that you take advantage of the specialty classes that experts like Julia Shanks has set up, and make sure that you take advantage of your one-on-one time with her. Making sure that you have a financially fit farm business is one of the most important things. Being financially fit in your farming business is tantamount to being a skilled grower and producer. And planning ahead. So I'll be assigning the study circles in the coming weeks. We are going to get most of the Virginia folks, because you are smaller than the Maryland folks here in our geographic distribution of students. Most of the Virginia folks are going to be with Michael Carter from Carter Farms and Agriculture. He is one of my personal heroes. He's a neighbor of mine. If you're in his study circle, I will probably be over there popping by to see how you're progressing and if there's anything that I can do to support you in your journey and help you with this process. And I think that's it for today. Joanna, is Joanna in the room yet? She had just texted me a minute ago. Anyways, so what we're going to start doing now is I wanted to open up the room, and maybe, I guess we could play Hollywood Squares. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you don't mind and you feel comfortable and you could get on camera, I'd like to go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves. I'll call out your names in order. I guess I will start with my upper left. So Jeffrey Lee, you're first up in Hollywood Squares. Oh, you're muted.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have like about 5 seconds or?
A couple minutes. If you keep going, I'll cut you off. Don't be shy.
Okay, I can tell you. Okay, I'm a native of Washington, D.C., and I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland. And my mother's a native of Alabama, and her parents grew up on farms there. And my father's from New York City, but his parents and elder sisters, my aunts, came from southern China. So I've lived in DC they live in DC for 20, 30 years, and they grew Asian vegetables around their house, townhouse near Eastern Market. I used to be an actuary, if you know what that is.
Yes.
In DC, New York.
Unfortunately for you, yes, my mother was an actuary.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm a former actuary. I haven't done it. I was in DC, New York, and then Hong Kong and Tokyo. And then I just came back to, after being in Hong Kong for 26.5 years. There I was in addition to actuary, I was doing CSR, corporate social responsibility auditing. I was a scuba diving instructor, and I was also an executive director for a marine conservation NGO.
Very good. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Stephen, can we, you're next up on my Hollywood Squares. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, I'm Stephen Goey, and had been living in the DC area, Silver Spring specifically. And then as of last year, my wife and I kind of bit the bullet and bought a small farm in Princess Anne, Maryland, to give it a go. I'm a beekeeper, hobbyist beekeeper who's trying to move that onto more of a sideline role as well. So I'm looking to try and pull all of that together. Before that, I worked with nonprofits, Doctors Without Borders, ALS Association, groups like that. And so eager to try this next phase.
Very nice. All right, I've got Christopher Defeo next in my list.
Hello, so I'm Chris. I came down to Maryland in 2010, worked with the FDA. I actually have a science background. and have been for a long time, just home gardening and really been interested in sustainable ag. I teach science at a high school, became a teacher about 5 years ago, and now I kind of want to transition to being a farmer.
Very nice. All right, Mr. President, Stephen Jones, please regale us.
I'm Stephen Jones, originally from New York City, not a farmer, but have bounced back and forth from New York, or specifically Brooklyn, to Maine, Penobscot County, by the way. So rural environments and very urban environments have I've always been attracted to them, the polar opposite. Fast forward, worked in the financial district. Yes, I know what an actuary is. And then moved on, got married, moved on to Delaware. And from there, Beth and I, we scratched our heads and simply said, what we loved about Delaware is disappearing. Let's go to the Eastern Shore. So we actually looked at some land, bought an old farmhouse. Again, I'm not a farmer, but we did raise 3 kids. So, but we wanted to make sure that they knew where food came from, open environments, and expose them at an early age and to less built communities. And we successfully did that. So what brought me to Future Harvest is a report that I did about 5 years ago on the economic impact of local food processing, and local food sales. That got me on the board of Future Harvest and eventually your president, your board president. So,
Well, sorry.
That's all right, I'm done.
I'm glad you continued to move south, and I hope that you're more happy with the climate down here. I have family. My family is actually Penobscot from Indian Island, Maine, and I'm a Southerner at heart. I got here as fast as I could. I don't even like it when it gets below 50 degrees, so I'm glad that you're down here near us now. Next up, Next up, I have Amy Mullen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy. I am the development director or development manager here at Future Harvest. And I grew up, my parents had a nursery business in Baltimore County. So I grew up around horticulture and I worked on some campus farms and as well as a nonprofit farm, benevolence farm in Alamance County, North Carolina. And then I started a CSA a few years ago. And after working in the nonprofit industry for a few years, I finally found my wonderful fit here at Future Harvest, where I was able to combine my 2 passions for nonprofit fundraising as well as sustainable agriculture. So super happy to be here. Both my mom and my sister went through the BFTP program. So super excited for all of you and would love to chat with all of you.
All right, Joanna, I saw you sneak in here now. I'm going to have you go next.
Absolutely. We're just introducing ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I started all of that after talking to you earlier, and I thought that you were in already. Sorry about that. So
No, I'm sorry. I thought I got it mixed up that we were starting at 2:45 and ending at, I flip-flopped the beginning and the end. Anyway, sorry. Hi everyone. Hope you're having a good first day of the conference. My name's Joanna. I work part-time at Future Harvest, mostly with the BFTP in the winter. I used to work at Future Harvest full-time as the field programming manager between 2015 and 2017. But since then, I've been helping out with the BFTP. So I've been helping for a lot of years and seen lots of amazing folks come through the program and go on to do really awesome stuff. And I, with my husband, have a farm in northern Baltimore County called Good Dog Farm. It's an organic vegetable farm where we sell mostly to CSA members. And yeah, that's it.
And Joanna will be also doing check-ins once in a while, and she will be in 16 of the 32 roundtables that we will be having on Tuesday evenings. Her husband will actually be speaking at a couple of them on bed forming and composting, so she will be a great resource for you. And I know I said I was going to go in order, but I see that there's other staff in here. So Dina, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dina Liebman. I'm the Executive Director of Future Harvest, but only for a few more weeks. After 8 years, I am going to hand the baton to someone. The saddest part of going is not being able to meet all of you as the ED, but I can as a citizen. So thank you all for being here. My wife and I run Zigbone Farm Retreat, but we just grow weddings and events there, and some ornamental goats and sheep.
Ornamental goats. I love that. All right. So I have two Ebonys right next to each other. Ebony with no last name on your thing. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, hey, I'm Ebony Malone. I'm on a journey to reconnect with the land. Since COVID, well, I was in IT, but since COVID, I've started a new journey. I am a part of the Ujamaa Farming Collective, Friends with Benita. So I am on this seed saving journey. This is like the happiest I've been. So happy to be a part of this program, but I hate to say herbalist. I'm not that, but I study herbs and I have taken several courses. So I make teas and tinctures. What else? I ferment everything. So kombucha, gin, kimchi. I grew up in Seattle, Washington, so kimchi was just a part of our diet. I'm African American and Native American. Both sides of my family are from Louisiana. So I have connection with my tribal side, my native side. I have two different tribes that I'm affiliated with. And what I'm doing now is just, I don't know, I'm 45, but just trying to, I feel like I'm finding myself, awakening to like what I really enjoy doing, having my hands in the soil. My husband's like, this is the happiest you've been doing this work. So I do work at Deep Roots Farm. Last year was my first time at the farm and doing that. I do garden and have gardened forever, but now I'm on a farm and learning all of those aspects, and told my husband we need to get a farm and he's for it. So now I'm looking, I guess, in the next year or so to purchase. And what else? I'm into permaculture. Don't like to say that, but like, you know, indigenous growing practices. But I do have a permaculture certification. And I think that's it. I forage. I'm obsessed with tree identification. And I guess I could keep going on, but that's it. Thank you. Happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. I've got Daryl, you're up next.
Hello, my name is D. Real. I'm currently active at Deep Roots Farm in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I'm a former educator. I used to work with preschoolers as well as teach science. I was introduced to urban farming at 3 Park Harmony Farm in Edgewood, Northeast DC, thanks to Gail Taylor. And over the last couple of years, have been trying to weave together my background in education with my interest in ecology work.
Very nice, thank you. Lacey Poff, I have you up on my next square here.
Hey everybody, so I'm Lacey. I live in Washington County. I'm doing small acreage farming. So my home is I have about an acre of land. I'm focusing on dairy goats and cut flowers. My path to get here started about 8 years ago. I used to deploy as a humanitarian. I still work for a humanitarian organization, but I would deploy into areas affected by natural disasters, chronic crisis, and current active conflict. And we'd set up health and nutrition and food security programs to support communities, primarily children and families. And so as I started to have my babies, I was committed that not only would my children grow up around livestock and animals, but that they would have an appreciation for the land and how we protect what we're given. So I'm at a point now where we're launching the business in the farm market. So I'm really, really excited to be a part of this group this year.
Very Nice, thank you. Also, I loved the photo that you submitted, Amy Mullen. Amy Mullen's our development girl, so she'll have to utilize that one. That was very cute.
Yeah. So for those on the call, I have triplets. So that was when they were babies, but they're turning 4 next month. But yeah, it makes me laugh every time I see that photo. So
Ooh,
yeah.
a lot of work. All right, I've got Becky with a baby in my next square. No, don't take the baby out. Oh,
There we
you're
go.
muted.
No, I was trying to figure out how to unmute. Well, this is Salix. Yes, you. He's my Zoom buddy for the day. So I'm Becky Sanford. I live just outside of Charlottesville, and my partner and I over the summer bought it's almost 4 acres, and he's a tree farmer. I spent the last 20-ish years on the Eastern Shore, just outside of Cape Charles, and I was working for about 5 years to varying degrees. I started as a volunteer and then a part-time, and then slowly became far more obsessed with working on a CSA farm. So before that, I was into a lot of marketing, photography, design, that sort of thing. And when my first child was born, I had some sort of change of heart about many, many things and started growing food and decided to leave my marketing job and to stay-at-home mom. So she's 8 now. She loves gardening. And we are just gonna go for it and start our farm.
Great, I'm glad you're here. Next up, I've got Chelsea.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Zaldivar. I live in Sussex County, Delaware. Are there any other Delaware people here? And I went to school for environmental journalism, and I was a Spanish teacher for a little while. And while I was in college, it became very apparent to me that, hey, Nick in Delaware, that the environment is, facing extreme challenges. And one of the best ways to help conserve it is to bring people to love it. And I think a great way to do that is through food. And I think we also, there are just so many different threads to the reason why I have for probably 15 years now really wanted to get into farming, but it's always seemed like a huge obstacle. Like I just didn't know where to start. I don't have a farming background. And I was about to move out of Milford, Delaware, and I went to the farmer's market and I ran into one of my favorite farmers at the farm stand, and I told him, I was like, hey, like I can't find a new place to rent. I just wanted to come say bye, buy up some veggies. And he was like, do you want to come work on my farm? And so he offered me a job on his farm. And so I ended up staying in the area, and he is a graduate of the Beginner Farmers Training Program. He's Josh Nash of Nash Veggies. And so I have been working with him for just a couple months now. And I'm so excited because my long-term dream is to have a farm that incorporates environmental education and therapy and nutrition and farming, and just kind of have a wellness center that is focused around getting back to the earth. So I really am excited to network and learn everything that you guys have to share with us.
That's wonderful. I love that it's come full circle and the person that inspired you to be here was a graduate. Thank you. So next up, I've got Ebony Jones.
Hi, I'm Ebony Jones. I'm a mother of 6, and out of the 6 children, only one of them is exactly like me, literally like my face, my passion, my everything. So we've been gardening for quite some time. Most of my family are from Wilson, North Carolina, as well as some parts of New Jersey where they have land and farms. And I really doubt that anybody's here the land like it should be. But I'm looking forward to starting my own farm as well as incorporating a nonprofit called Try Teaching Responsibility, Income, Business Behavior, and Etiquette. And unlike my other fellow Delawareans, I'm from Newcastle County, so I'm like up north, where it's more, I guess we're considered the fast-paced city slickers compared to down south of Delaware. So, yeah, my nonprofit is geared towards helping troubled kids, troubled teens, and hopefully getting them to, figure out what they want to do and where they want to be and find themselves while learning about growing food and nutrition and taking care of themselves, the earth, and others. So I'm excited to be in the program. Thank you, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you. All right, Michelle Coleman.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to see you all. I'm Michelle Coleman, and I just have to say that this is just already been a mind-blowing experience for me, and I feel like I'm at home. Like, I feel like when the Zoom camera came on at orientation yesterday, I just felt like BTFT was saying, welcome home. And the reason that I say that is because I'm a native Washingtonian, and my family lovingly and sometimes not so lovingly refers to me as the weird one. I have always been an earth child, an earth girl. My earliest memories, I've always been staring at the stars, looking at the trees, walking around outside. When I was like 5 living in DC, I was like, Mom, can I have a horse? She's like, what? So, I have always been the earth girl, bringing things home. My mother's afraid of everything. I'm not afraid of anything. So anything, I'm trying to rescue everything, bring it home. I want to pet everything. I'm the weird one. But the weird one is at home now. I am so excited to be here. I started gardening maybe about 10 years ago. I had a client and friend who had a ton of land. And of course, I was all over the place making friends with his chickens. He told me he was going to eat them. I was traumatized. I was feeding the horses, just all over the farm. And he taught me how to grow food because he grew up, on a farm. And since then, I've rented little plots here and there and just fell in love with gardening and landed at DPR, where I am helping Josh, the community garden specialist. And we just, my job there goes through May, and they suggested that I come here. And I thought, okay. Had no idea I was going to be in an environment where I could actually have my own farm. I am just beside myself. Didn't know it would be, I thought I was just going to learn how to kill bugs and weed and learn about farm stuff to become go from gardener to farmer. No clue that this was so big. I am stoked right now. I'm like online looking at land with a pond and ducks and like, I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. I digress. I'm very happy to be sharing your space. I'm a clinical herbalist, graduated 5 years ago. The clinical component was, it was great. Didn't go in the direction that I thought. So I'm thinking, okay, with this education, we're gonna be sitting down, helping people get well with food and herbs and lifestyle changes, and ended up doing more education than sitting down with clients. And I want to grow the herbs. I don't want to just deal with the dried herbs and make formulas. I want to grow them. So there's so many possibilities. Please help me with all this techie stuff. I'd rather be outside. So any help you all can give me, please, please. I'm better outside than indoors in front of a computer, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad you're home here with us, and I'm so happy to welcome you to the BFTP family. So just keep checking those resources, as I was talking about yesterday in orientation. We are going to be compiling more resources, access to grant money, access to programs from the USDA and the state agencies that will help you on this journey. And you can do this. You got this. Next up, I've got Jordan. Jordan with an H. We have a couple Jordans, but Jordan with an H.
Hello, hello, much love, everybody. What's going on? I'm Jordan from Baltimore. I'm an urban farmer, and I've been farming for 1 year. Kind of picked up the hobby. Somebody offered me a plant. I didn't really want it, and I ended up loving it anyway. My goals of farming are mainly to have my own farm, to be able to feed not only my family, but to teach others to feed their own families as well. Instill a sense of self-sufficiency amongst our communities and things, and just get us some good food.
Yes, I love that. Food is freedom. Food is power. Let's see, Kern.
Everybody, how you doing? My name's Kern Brookman. I live in Baltimore City. I have been farming for about, well, I guess I started learning about farming during the pandemic. I was a real estate agent last November, and I wasn't good at it because I didn't like it, apparently. And I started volunteering at some of the farms here in Baltimore City, specifically Whitelock Farm was probably one of the first ones I really went to regularly. And then I went to Strength to Love for a couple weeks, and we called all that volunteering an internship, and it allowed me to actually get a job at Bon Secours Urban Farm. And I feel very fortunate that that opportunity was available. Literally, they tried to hire someone right before me, and she didn't show up for her first day. So it's kind of lucky that that position was even open. Yeah, and my plan is just like most of y'all probably, just to have my own farm at some point. I'm very interested in, you know, food orchards and permaculture. Eventually I won't be in the city probably. So I really, one other thing I'm really interested in, well, beekeeping I'm learning about aquaculture, or sorry, aquaponics, hydroponics. I'm very lucky. There's a lot of diverse things happening at the Bon Secours Urban Farm. You should come check it out if you want. It's in West Baltimore, 21223. Zip code. But I'm really interested in mushroom growing. I haven't actually done it yet. I've just watched a bunch of videos, but that seems like a really interesting subsection of farming that I'm very interested in.
Great.
Yeah.
We actually have a couple of mushroom nights planned for this year coming up. So make sure you keep an eye on the schedule. We've got both Haas mushrooms and a girlfriend of mine, Heidi, who just started a mushroom business down in North Carolina. She's been growing for several years. So yeah, it's going to be great. Next up, we've got Isaac.
Hey, I'm Isaac. Sorry with the background noise. I'm a stay-at-home dad of 5. Got 3 at school right now. I'm getting ready to go get the rest of them. But I just moved on about 5 acres in Mount Airy, Maryland, in Carroll County. That was about a year ago, and I've been working with the extension office some, trying to get a small orchard developed, as well as some raised beds. We have some small livestock. I'm looking at hopefully starting some dairy goats, but just kind of taking as much in as I can, and looking forward to getting started.
Great, thank you. I got Lori. Please help me pronounce this last name. Uloa?
Ulloa. It's Spanish.
Oh, very cool.
My husband's Cuban. So I'm Lori Ulloa, and I have a background of 15 years I spent in marketing analytics and dashboard development and coding website interactions. And the pandemic tanked my business that I had. So awesome. Now career change into something that I feel is my true calling, which is growing food, health, and wellness. So I started gardening in Baltimore City, and my husband and I then moved to Baltimore County. We bought 9 acres of land, have been enduring a renovation, and lived in an Airstream for 5 months as a family of 4. So we're finally living in one room in our house, which is much better than an Airstream. It explains the hex. It's kind of cold in here. Anyway, I am in the process of planning my little farmette, and should be fun.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Cassandra Lawson.
everyone. My name's Cassandra. I live in Alexandria, in Fairfax County. I'm a avid gardener for the last 10 years. Married. I have 2 girls in elementary school, and I pretty much turned my townhouse yard into a little kind of foodscape. And my backyard, I have some raised beds and some vertical gardens. On my patio, I also have a community garden plot. And I've been a government contractor for the last 14 years and very happily looking to make a pivot to be a farmer. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So if you're looking to grow in small spaces like Alexandria, there's someone near you called Beyond Lettuce. They're in Tyson's Corner. She lives in Alexandria. You should definitely check them out. It's fascinating. Next up, I've got Kamisha Jackson. Kamisha, you're friends with Thelonious, right?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Oh, I'm so happy that he referred you to us.
Yes. So as she mentioned, I'm Kamisha. I am here in Hampton, Virginia. I grew up in Georgia. Let's see a little bit about me. I guess technically I've been doing some variation of farming for about 3 years now. I bought my land here. It's about an acre. The plan is to turn it into a micro farm or a farmette, as Lori mentioned. I like that term. Let's see, I started growing stuff last year, just a bunch of different produce. I had some goats and I'll be getting more chickens this year. So kind of just looking to scale up and learn more from Thelonious this year as well.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here with us this year. Next, I've got Melissa, ST.
Hi, yeah, I'm Melissa. I am living on a piece of property that has been in my family for a long time. My grandparents bought a piece of land here in rural Harford County. We're north of Baltimore City, just about 45 minutes north. And so I live here with my immediate family, my father, my 2 uncles, and it's a place that's been really meaningful to me my whole life. And I've spent my whole career working in Baltimore City. I've been a teacher for over 25 years and doing that commute from out here down into the city. But as I shift into having this place, this farm, become an active farm, right now it's not being actively farmed. And my sister and I are going to be the caretakers of this property, and we see a lot of possibilities, but we need some help sort of figuring out what to do first and how to get started. But I also want to stay connected with the community in Baltimore. So I've been trying to think about ways that our farm project can keep us connected with Baltimore. So thinking about educational farm opportunities, perhaps some therapeutic opportunities. This conference has been exciting because I'm just getting more and more ideas, but I know I need to focus. So that's going to be something I'm really going to need help with this year, sort of picking where to start and and figuring out what our niche is going to be. So glad to be here.
Starting with a good plan is key. I love the conversations that are going on between you guys out in the chat here. So I've got Katherine, not with a Y.
Hello, I go by Katie and I live in Halethorpe, just outside of Baltimore City. This past year, my sister and I started a really small floristry business, and we quickly discovered that the flowers from locally grown farmers were so much nicer to work with than the wholesale shipped flowers. And then we discovered that we really loved using flowers that we grew ourselves too. So we're excited to expand our flower growing business in support of our floristry.
Very nice, thank you. I've got Nicole next.
Hi, everybody. I live in Maryland, in Columbia, Maryland, and I've been an educator, English educator for about 20 years. And I'm a little tired of reading. So I I'm looking for a change. I'm never really tired of reading, but I would like to do something more hands-on that's closer to the earth, that's a little more grounded. And so I'm excited about this opportunity and excited about, I also specialize in working with at-risk kids. So just helping, I feel like being more hands-on with students like that is going to be a more successful, have more success with them, a better, maybe even a healing process for kids like that, as opposed to forcing them to learn how to read things they don't care about. So yeah, just kind of bringing together my background in education and farming. I'd like to have my own farm. I'd like to work in agricultural education. So I'm also working on changing my content credential to teach ag classes and work with Future Farmers of America. So yeah, I'm excited about all this and kind of doing what a lot of people are doing, the career change thing, like just a little exhausted with whatever else was going on. So I'm happy. I'll be looking forward to talking to a lot of you more.
Yes, thank you. Now I have Katherine with a Y.
I suspect that's me, right?
Yes.
I tried to look through to make sure I knew when my time. So my name is Katherine Culbertson. Recently moved out to the lower shore of the Delmarva Peninsula on the banks of the Pocomoke River in Snow Hill. I moved out here, or we've moved out here. My husband's still working actually in Fairfax County as a teacher, but we are moving out here to seek land and purchase it to create a farm, very similar to what we heard yesterday with a couple of the both growers and with the agrarian trust, more like a community and less like a individual farm. We're in the process of looking for property right now. It's been a little bit interesting to say the least, but I think I've got a couple of leads, and if we're not able to purchase something by March, which it's starting to look like we're not, I've got a few ideas and opportunities lined up to either lease land or help a couple of other small farmers in the area for this growing season and get some of my plants in the ground, at least to start getting some fruit on them. I want to focus on herbs primarily. We will likely have acreage to grow hemp fairly soon in the future, hopefully, cross our fingers, because that's part of my plan. And I'm looking forward to hearing more. Yesterday was just as stimulating for me as it seems to be for everybody. Very excited to be in this group. And my background in farming is that I grew up in a farm family and didn't really realize that it was a vocation until the pandemic hit. I started working for Potomac Vegetable Farm, which is a huge part of Future Harvest here. And between Hannah and Hugh and Carrie out there, it dawned on me that this was really the best opportunity for me in the future. So here I am farming.
Fantastic. All right, we've got Aria.
Hey y'all, I'm Aria. I feel like I just love food, like all of us. But a little bit about me, I guess. I graduated school in 2018. I studied environmental studies, anthropology, and public health. And part of my environmental studies work, I did some research in Baltimore City. I currently live in Baltimore County. But I did some research with Black Yield Institute and specifically around like Black land and food sovereignty and the idea that people who are most affected by food apartheid should be answering the questions around it or finding the solutions. And then after school, I was like figuring my life out and everything, and was considering midwifery, became a medical assistant like 5 months before the pandemic. That was a trip. And last year was a huge year for just like learning about farming. I quit being a medical assistant and started working at Real Food Farm in Baltimore City, and also was part of the first cohort of the Farm Alliance's Black Butterfly Urban Farmer Training Program. and did some work with the Greener Garden also through that. I kind of just see farming as another way to connect with the earth and with people, like a lot of people have been saying. Yeah, and I've always imagined any farm that I eventually am part of to be like a cooperative effort. I took some herbalism classes through Wild Ginger last year, and yeah, just all about the bugs and all about the good stuff. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Now I've got okay, I'm going on to the next one. It says James Bowker.
Hi, yeah. My name's actually Jordan. My partner is James.
Oh.
You guys might have met him yesterday. He was there for the intro session. We both live in Washington, D.C., and we've been here on and off for the past 12 or so years. Also working in government contracting, someone else mentioned before. Also very excited to get out of government contracting. We ended up spending a good portion of 2020, I guess, in Mississippi, where my family has a farm. And that's where I spent summers growing up. So it's always been, a happy place for me. It was a little bit stressful during COVID, but that sort of changed our perspective. And we have decided to give it a go and move down there and turn what is currently an unoperational farm into an operational farm doing veggies and cut flowers. So that's our plan.
Very nice. Thank you. All right, I've got Nikisha. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I'm so glad to be here. I am a native New Yorker, but I have spent many years here in Maryland and in Virginia. So I graduated from high school in Maryland, but went to the original TC, Williams. Let's see, I'm a project manager for a school district here in Maryland. My background is predominantly financial management, span the gamut of accounting to budgets, consulting, development work. So this has been a total contrast for me. While I grew up in the city, both of my parents are Southern born rather, but they did the great, they were a part of the Great Migration. And so I've been disconnected from farming and things that they were familiar with. So this has been very enlightening. It's really like getting back to the roots, but I had done some gardening last year, and it's like something that's more than just getting back to the roots. It's like something that's more DNA, some of the things that practices that, I was taught from a child's coming back to memory, in addition to just seeing it, and experiencing it. And now my parents are like, oh yeah, well, do you know about this and this? And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, I already know about that. But anyway, so this being a part of the program is great. I'm so excited to be in the program, like in this region, because I'm seeing people that are talking about they're in Bowie, which is, in Prince George's County, in the metro area, because, Maryland is a huge state. So you can be 20 minutes from farming to mountains to city. And if you're in this region that's closer to the Washington, D.C. metro, the real estate prices are ridiculous, and that's is my greatest challenge. Like, how do you make the numbers work? So to be able to talk to other people that are transitioning professions and also in the region to understand the dynamics of, just some of the constraints or barriers to entry. Having you all as thought partners is just awesome, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Man, I saw a lot of heads bobbing when you were talking about the prices and the land around here. And unfortunately, your story about being disconnected from the land over the last generation or two is a really disturbingly common thing that I found. Yesterday, when I was talking about Project Black that we were doing, that I'm working with Lavisha Rollins on in Charles City County, that was the same story over and over and over again with the folks that we're bringing in to build that common community and build a Black Main Street in Charles City County. And Lavisha and I have been trying to overcome that, and people are coming back to the land, and I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Nikisha.
Real quick, I think it's really what we're going to see. Generation X, we were disconnected from the land, you know, because baby boomers, they were more connected, but they did the migration, you know, so yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you're
coming full
100% right. We're going to change that though. We're not going to all get through this, but I'm going to keep trucking. And then we're going to reconvene on Tuesday night anyway, next week, and then in the Google Classroom. Next up, I've got Jenny Hoover.
Sorry about that. I'm Jenny. I'm over in Mount Airy, Maryland, Frederick County, and this is my third year farming. Well, I'll be entering my third year farming, and I kind of was the opposite. I got the piece of land, did not like the grass, said, what am I going to do? I'm going to plant and grow. So we've got berries, we got some trees, fruits and vegetables, herbs, and this is I'm in level 2. I was in level 1 last year. And I'm super excited because I just had my first day working with Moon Valley Farm as my hands-on program, and I was super excited. I learned so much. It's gonna be a wonderful year, and I'm super excited.
Well, I'm glad that you chose to come back for a second year. I hope you come back for a third. My Hollywood squares are for some reason rotating, so I'm going to try not to get disorganized here. Terrell, Senior, I see you over there. Oh, you're walking around. Is this convenient or is this okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay,
Hello,
tell us about yourself.
All right, my name is Terrell. I'm a father of 4. I'm an Army vet. I got 2 deployments. I suffer from PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and this would be good, be therapeutic. There's a lot of my community can really use a farm. Well, there's farmers around, but not in my community. And there's a lot of homeless that need to be fed. There's a lot of things that need to change. I'm super excited to be a part of this program. It sounds very promising. Like one lady said earlier, well, a couple of us had mentioned already, I had no idea it was going to be this comprehensive. I know I'm new to farming, but I learned so much already, and I'm excited to be here and excited to meet you guys.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Well, I hope you come back for the Veterans Caucus next. That'll be in a few minutes. And so one of the populations that my farm feeds is the homeless population in Central Virginia. And just a tip or a little bit of advice, make sure that you partner with a restaurant that is able to take your vegetables and food that you're growing and create soft foods, because a lot of them have poor dental health, and that will help. And like in to-go containers that'll make it so much easier for you.
Thank you.
Christy, it says grow give.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christy, and I live in Middle River. And I've been home gardening for about 10 years. I started gardening in my backyard, and then I lived on a houseboat, so I gardened in containers on the houseboat. And I moved to Middle River 3 years ago. And somebody mentioned earlier the townhouse, front yard and backyard. That's the same as what I have. The front yard is full and the backyard is full. And then a year and a half ago, I think August of 2020, I was working with Food Rescue, giving away produce that's reclaimed from grocery stores to people in need. And I also had a whole bunch of my own personal seedlings left over that I didn't have room to transplant. So I transplanted them into 5-gallon buckets, and I gave them to people when we gave away the Food Rescue food. And that turned into a social benefit company that I started shortly after that. It's called Grow Give, and it's a B Corp or BLLC. So I sell garden related things that I make, like decorations and garden scented candles and seedling kits and things like that. And then for every 100 in sales, I donate a vegetable plant in a 5-gallon bucket. That's my dog who likes to be in the screen. I donate a vegetable plant, either a tomato or a pepper, in a 5-gallon bucket, and it's full grown to where it's producing flowers, so it'll start producing fruit soon. And then I give those out to people in food deserts through different community partners. So the first year it was like 20. The second year well, the first year it was the test year and I gave about like 20. And then the second year was the first full year of actually doing it as a business. And this past summer I gave about 130 away. And then my goal for the next year is 300. And I also grow and sell seedlings. And I try to do like strange varieties of things. I only do tomatoes, peppers, and herbs. But I try to do like strange varieties that aren't available everywhere so people can try different things. A lot of people, like one person didn't know that tomatoes came in yellow. So it's cool to see like the reaction. And I think the yellow ones taste better. So when they tasted it, they were like really happy that it was, that it even existed. So that's it. Yeah, my dog name is Tesla if he pops his head in again.
Thank you. I've never met anyone that's lived on a houseboat. That's pretty interesting. And like Michael Carter and I had said yesterday, you got to find your niche. So rare varieties, that's great. Let's see. I've got Veronica next up.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Veronica. I've heard some stories like mine. I'm changing, definitely, looking to change careers. My background is in industrial engineering, and I have worked in corporate. I have been an entrepreneur. My last job before COVID was in a nature preschool. And that's when I started to remember how much I love nature and how much I love being outside. And so when the COVID hit, I decided I couldn't go back to the preschool, and I started exploring and looking for different opportunities. And I fell in love with, farming and the land and trying, everything that is happening right now in the world, and that, with climate change and everything. So I decided to reach out to Lisa Duff. She owns Oak Spring Farm here in Maryland, and she gave me the opportunity to volunteer with her last year. And I really love working outside of the farm. I really love, getting dirty from head to toes and just being out there. And so right now I don't really know what I want to do, in the farming industry. I just know I love it. I want to learn as much as I can and see how I can sort of bring my background as an engineer into, the industry and see how I can get myself useful.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next up on my screen, I've got Michael McMullen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike. My wife and my 3 kids and I bought a farm out in Queen Anne's County in September and have no farming experience or idea what we're going to do with it. So we're just jumping in totally, and hopefully this will help me sort it out.
Well, hopefully we can make it less painful for you and easier going.
We'll find out.
Next up, I've got Raynell.
Hello, I'm Raynell. I am from Baltimore. I am very new to farming. I've been gardening probably maybe 5 or 6 years on and off. I pretty much garden when I can. Like, I've had a couple of seasons where I've honestly just forgot to get seeds in the ground and just didn't do it that year. So that's why I say off and on. So, but I just finished school. I studied environmental science, and I really found my passion. I learned a lot about sustainable agriculture and decided that I want to have my own farm. I thought about farming before studying environmental science, but it was just to feed my family. And now I've kind of put the two things together, feeding my family, and I'm like kind of obsessed with the science behind everything too. So it's like I've kind of connected the two things. I did the Maryland Master Naturalist program over the summer, and that was really fun. I think I gained a deeper connection with like the outdoors and everything doing that. And another thing that I'm excited to bring into whenever I'm able to get my own land. I'm currently working at an indoor farm, which I don't really like too much. I'm looking for a job somewhere at a regular farm, an outdoor farm. I want to be able to get my hands in the soil and everything. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm about to start a certificate program for sustainable food and farming. So I'm just excited to be here, learn as much as I can. I'm a mom. I have 6 kids, and they're homeschooled. They've been homeschooled for like, I think 5 years now. So, and they're also pretty passionate about it. So just
That is
excited
really impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know how you have the wherewithal to homeschool those kids. People always assume that because I live on a farm that I homeschool my children. It takes a saint to be able to have the patience to do that.
Yeah.
Let's see, Victoria, you had messaged me. I found you. Let's take it away with that. And we're not going to be able to get through with everybody today, but we are going to pick this back up again on Tuesday. So Victoria, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm sorry I'm at work, so I'm kind of been in and out. I just wanted to say it's really been helpful to hear everyone else's story because I don't feel as bad coming in as a newbie. I do have experience with growing in a garden, a large garden. Growing up, my parents had a nice sized garden that we didn't need, but they grew things for themselves and their neighbors and family and that kind of thing. And so I kind of am at the place now where I want to start to do things that I want to do. And I really want to grow and share what I grow. So I'm looking, I have a property and I'm looking at ways that I can develop it in different ways. And so I really enjoy learning by hearing from other people's stories, testimonies. And yeah, that's me. I live in the DC area, work as a government contractor, may have the opportunity to do some remote work. And so I just think that it would be a good use of my time to also devote my time to my own projects. And so I'm looking forward to this journey. Thank you.
So glad you're here. Let's see, Ashley Daniluk. Am I saying your name wrong? How do you say that?
No, it's Daniluk. You got it right. No one ever gets it
Awesome.
right. Thank you. I am a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids. Our clean food journey started because all 3 of my kids have special needs, and my husband and I started trying to figure out what the heck is happening. This is my youngest. Anyway, over the summer, we were able to buy a 4-acre property in Loudoun County, Virginia, because the market went crazy and apparently lots of people wanted HOA homes and no one wanted this beautiful land that used to be farmland 30 years ago and has just been sitting empty. We want to turn it into a farm. We want to do a little bit of everything, but have no idea where to start because neither my husband and I come from an agriculture background. I'm 5th generation Southern California land of concrete. So it's going to be exciting. We found out 2 weeks after we moved into our house that the farm across the street from us sold to Van Meter Homes, which was just really heartbreaking. So I told my husband, I was like, all right, we're going to build a farm stand across the road and we're just going to make them all our neighbors. And we're going to evangelize to them about why you need clean local food and why you should buy from us and not drive to the grocery store. So
wonderful.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
advocacy is a very important factor in agriculture. Okay, we're going to wrap the introductions with you, but again, the rest of you will get to know each other in the next few Tuesdays in the coming weeks, and then I hope that you get much more in-depth personal connections in the coming year. I hope that you'll join us at our caucuses. All of these kids, and homeschool moms and women, you're making me feel like we should have had a parents caucus, a parents in farming, and how to overcome the stress of family and farming, because that's a big thing. So we have, as Amy Mullen had mentioned before, we've got our veterans, LGBTQ caucus coming up. They'll be in the schedule and the agenda in socio. I do want to take a moment to announce that once you guys are through with this, or even maybe if you're in a level 2 or level 3 and you're interested, we will be opening up applications for a brand new program coming up at the end of January that they will open up. And that is for our Agricultural Leadership Development Initiative. It is for veterans and BIPOC farmers, and it's an exclusive year-long training program provided free of charge to veterans and BIPOC farmers in the Chesapeake Bay. And it is everything from classroom lectures to on-the-farm apprenticeships, one-on-one technical assistance, peer-to-peer study programs. And it's really for creating nonprofit management fundraisers, or fundraising professionals. We're going to have policymakers, stakeholders, agricultural leaders. It's kind of a little bit above and beyond the BFTP in not just necessarily training you to do farm work, but to be an effective agricultural leader and make change within the food system, or from within the food system rather. And yeah, we're going to hone your skills in administration and team management and public speaking and storytelling to really make you the next generation of change makers. So if you're interested in participating in that program, please reach out to me. Make sure that you go on our website and subscribe to notifications so that when those notifications go out, you'll get a copy of that application or a link to that application. And with that, I believe we're going to wrap. Amy has given me the 5-minute warning to wrap it up, and I hope that I see you in the chats next. Oh, I just saw is that Christy, right now that is uncertain. So we'll be finalizing all of those by the end of the month, and that'll go out with our regular notifications if you're subscribed on our website. Thank you. And I hope to see you guys in the caucuses in 15 minutes.